Hello and welcome to Chamber Chat. I am your host, Shauna Harris, the Director of Marketing and Communications for the Conroe Lake Conroe Chamber of Commerce. The Conroe Chamber is a nonprofit 501c6 organization and is designated as a 5-star accredited chamber by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. The mission of the chamber is to promote and advocate for business in the Conroe Lake Conroe area. Chamber Chat is our monthly platform to share upcoming chamber events, learn more about our members, and learn from our members as they share their expertise with the community. The chamber is located near downtown Conroe, and you can find us online at conroe.org and, of course, all social media outlets. Get ready because we have a great show planned for you today, and we will be right back with our first guest.
Listen in Mondays at noon to hear Conroe news from local nonprofits, businesses, upcoming events, Conroe Park events, news stories, and information that matters to you with your host, Margie Taylor of Taylorized PR. For more information about being a guest, visit irlonestar.com/Conroe Culture.
Thank you for joining us on Chamber Chat. I am Shauna Harris with the Conroe Lake Conroe Chamber of Commerce, and I'm here with our president, Mr. Scott Harper, and we are speaking with Jacqueline Franks. Did I pronounce it correctly this time? Okay, sorry. With Valuation, Fraud, and Forensics. And why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself and how you got into the business and your background?
Sure. So when I was in high school and before, I wanted to go into the medical field. I was going to be a doctor. My parents were doctors, are doctors, and I was doing all the things that you needed to do to go to medical school and, making straight A's, all that fun stuff. And in my senior year, my dad said, no, don't do it. You're going to hate it. By the time you get into private practice, insurance companies will control more than they already do, everything that we do. And back then, they were already dictating how many procedures could be done in a year for a group like he was in. So I actually listened to parental advice that time and decided that I would instead go into the business side of medical, which kind of proved to end up the same way, but that's okay. Fast forward several years, and the same thing was happening. We were fighting with insurance companies all day long. The doctors decided with the practice that they wanted to retire, and they sold the company. We went our separate ways. And I had, during the course of working and running those businesses, met an expert who does what I do now. And I called her and I said, hey, can I come and do an internship with you to see if I like this? And she said, absolutely. We just lost somebody, actually. You can come in and replace them. And that was in 2008, so I've stuck with it.
I was just going to ask, what was it that she was doing when you were at that practice where you had an interaction? She was investigating a case, I guess?
One of the doctors was going through a divorce.
Oh,
and
okay.
When that happens in divorce, you have to put a value on businesses
Sure.
that the parties own and all that.
So just from your involvement in that got you interested in...
Right. I had to do kind of what I do now, but the other side of it. I had
Sure.
to pull all the documents, provide all the financial statements, all the bank statements, and just to see what her final product was, what the information I gave her was really interesting to me.
Yeah. Okay.
And it proved to be very interesting. While I worked with her for 5 years, and then I went on to a couple of other CPA firms and grew their practices, and then finally went out on my own a few years ago. And it's the kind of the puzzle is fun, to put all the pieces together.
Yeah.
How do you put the pieces together? It seems like nowadays with technology, you would think technology would be your friend. And then, as you were saying, people that go through the divorce have to put a valuation on things, and a lot of people maybe not keep the best of records. How do you put those pieces together? Is there defaults you go to if there are missing links, or how does that process work?
It depends on the case. Every one of them is different. Every business is run differently. Every case that we take on has different requirements and, of course, different levels of documents. So we have some where, again, no one gets married thinking that they're going to get divorced. So they don't keep records going back 20 and 30 years. Who holds on to their bank statements for that long other than me? No one. You call Chase Bank and you say, hey, I got married 25 years ago and I need my statements back from 2008. And they say, good luck with that. So there's a lot of piecing together that we have to do, and sometimes the answer for tracing cases is that you can't get the information. They might have a tax return that shows an account balance if it was an investment account, and we can kind of piece and go by those things, but what we can't prove as someone's separate property, we can't prove, and then they lose that. And that's kind of the downside. For business appraisal, there are a few different options. We can appraise businesses. Least favorite is off of their tax returns. There's some adjustments that have to be made if we use a tax return, because I think that anyone who's a small business owner understands that we don't all just go out there and put as few expenses on our profit and loss statement for the tax return as possible to pay the most in taxes as possible. Everybody wants to minimize their taxes. So they a lot of times have expenses on there that could be added back because they're maybe an owner discretionary expense. You know, it's the owner's fuel. It's not used really for going and seeing clients every day and things like that. They're not dividing every penny of their fuel out between business and personal. So we make those kinds of adjustments. Then worst case scenario, if we don't have financial statements, is we can piece things together from the bank statements. We can't really get a very good idea of a balance sheet because that has to accumulate over time. And we're not always going to see what they purchased in assets and things from a bank statement, especially if they had some sort of financing or they had assets that they contributed when they formed the company. Those things won't be on bank statements. Unless we have loan statements, then great. But again, maybe not.
What's the shelf life on some of that typically? If you see things drop off after 10 years or 15 years, or where do you see that drop off?
When a customer calls a bank and asks for bank statements, it's usually 7 years back that they can go. If an attorney subpoenas the banks, they can usually go back further than that.
Because they don't want to do the work.
Yeah. Well, it also goes to their corporate headquarters in, Oklahoma or wherever, depending on the bank. And they can sometimes pull from their archives a few more years. I've never seen anybody be able to go back more than maybe 10 or 12 years. That's about as far as you can go.
Well, walk us through any trends that you're seeing, maybe post-COVID when it comes to businesses and what they're having to do, or, I mean, from the mental health side of things, there's a lot of divorces going on as well because spouses spent a little bit too much time together. We're also seeing a spike on the other end. There's a lot of babies being born at the hospital during this time. So, but in your business, what are you seeing trend-wise that might have been different pre-2020?
So with different areas that we perform work in, they have a cycle anyway, depending on who's in office at the time, what the tax policies and things are that are going to be rolled out. So at the end of last year, because of Biden's tax proposed bill that he had coming out, it was going to put a bunch of restrictions on what can be used as a discount for business appraisal, for gifting and transfer purposes, and just business appraisal in general when it's for a tax reason. So when that happened, especially on the gifting and estate transfer side, there was this rush of people that, in their attorney's offices, we need to do this right now because we don't want to lose our gift tax deductions and things like that. So at the end of last year, there was a whole bunch of business appraisals of family limited partnerships and those gifting instruments and entities that a lot of times attorneys put together for their clients. On the divorce side of things, we had kind of a backwards year, really, this year and last year too. I think that a lot of things were delayed with the courts because courts shut down. They had to have that period of time where, okay, how are we going to transition from everything in person to doing Zoom when we can? Now we're kind of at a hybrid where, okay, we're doing some things on Zoom if they're quick hearings or if someone requests it. And then some things that are in person are only in person, but experts or somebody else can say, hey, I really don't want to come because of COVID. So then the courts will usually say, okay, you can appear on Zoom and everybody else is in person as long as they don't have a problem with it.
Cool. Talk for those that will be listening to our show about in the small business kind of area. What made you take that leap of faith to go into and start your own practice? Because as you talked about, you had a transition you worked through, and you went through some larger firms and sharpened your sword, if you will. And then what gave you that motivation to make that jump?
So I actually went through a divorce back in 2010 or 11, and I was a single parent for 10 or 11 years. And my ex-husband doesn't live in this area. He moved. And so it was really just me with my kids. And I had started out driving to downtown from Galveston County, and then that drive got longer and longer, even at 5 o'clock in the morning. And so I called a headhunter, and I said, okay, I really need to look for something that is closer to where I can live and work at the same time. And they found a CPA firm in the Woodlands that was looking to start their litigation and valuation department, which is what I do. So they hired me, and I moved up here. And that was back in 2015. And I like the area, and so I've stayed. And, my kids are in school here now, and it was a good decision because everything was right here. Yeah. Well, then that CPA firm decided to merge with a medium-sized CPA firm. That one was a smaller one. So I merged with a larger one. And then I had to rebrand again and market all over again. Well, here's the new company name. And okay, then they merged with a much bigger CPA firm at the end of 2018. And at that point, I said, okay, I have now started 4 different departments for 4 different companies, and I think I might as well just go start my own. So that's what I did.
Trials and tribulations in doing that on your own, obstacles you were able to overcome to get you to where you are now that you could tell people about.
I had an attorney that I talked to. I worked with him for a long time, and I was talking to him about, do I go out on my own? Do I not? The whole nail biting thing. And he said, you need to do it. He said, it will be the greatest thing you've ever done and most fulfilling. He said, but you will lose the most sleep over it, and you just have to accept it. He said, there will be days where you can't sleep, you're worrying about how you're going to pay bills, but then most of it will end up being worth it if you just run it the right way. And he was right. Yeah. There are days where it's just, especially during COVID, it was just weird. Yeah. We still ran just like normal and things like that, but you were stretching out when payments were coming in, because even though your client still had their litigation case going on, they didn't necessarily have income coming in, depending on restaurant clients, bar and restaurants. None of those things really had income. And so what do? Do you tell them, you have to keep paying your divorce? And I'm too soft-hearted for that. So kind of stretch things out that way. But for the most part, I haven't had too many lost sleep days, and it's been pretty rewarding and fulfilling, and to watch the practice grow and hire employees. And now my daughter has decided that she would like to do what I do and take over for me. I think she thinks I'm a lot older than I am, and will be retiring any day now. So
I like the way she thinks. Maybe I need to meet. Yeah.
She'll be putting me in a nursing home in 2 or 3 years if she has anything to do with it.
Yeah, make sure you're keeping an eye on what law she's studying, right?
Exactly.
So, how big is your firm now, and how you said and hiring employees, and what do you think these next couple of years look like for you and your business?
Yeah, so we have 5 or 6 people depending on caseload. Some I hire case by case, and then some are there full time. And I took advantage of COVID in that I was able to find really talented people, not just in this area, but Tennessee, San Antonio. So I have some that on the case by case basis are working from their homes, out of state. And that's been a really neat experience to be able to collaborate like that and bring people on that have different backgrounds, and maybe they didn't go to school at UT or A&M or our schools here, and they just have a different experience with their industries in their cities and states. But it's been interesting to be able to bring just a different group of talent that you couldn't have really before all the remote technology that we had before.
Yeah. How about your transition personally from being a business owner to being the CEO, the chief everything officer in your business, and then having to pull out and being an administrator versus maybe an investigator? How does that, have you been able to balance that, or how? How are you working that process?
Luckily, I've been able to balance it pretty well with my prior experience. When I was running medical companies, there were days where I was taking out the trash, I was, scrubbing the floor, whatever. I had to take over at the front desk because we had people out. So it really hasn't been different from that standpoint. And that's one of the things I encourage is, I don't care what your position is. We're all here for one purpose, and it's to work and serve our customers. So make sure that that's the attitude you come to work with.
How do you market yourself? Because to me, it's kind of a niche, and you only need it when you need it. It's not something that you just always think about. But how do you market? You join the chamber, you become involved in the chamber. What are other ways people find you and get to know who you are and learn about what you do and the offerings that you can bring to them?
It's a lot of meeting people, and I think that it took a long time to go out on my own because you need that time to develop those relationships, and this really isn't something that you can learn to do just out of a book. Going and testifying, that's a whole different set of skills in and of itself, and you really do a better job and write better reports if you have studied under someone who does that and has been doing it, and I was very fortunate to start off that way. My prior employer, very first one, was someone who'd been here forever. I mean, she started in this industry and in Houston back before women really were in any kind of accounting, and especially not any sort of forensic and testifying role. So it was a really neat experience to work for her, and I'm very grateful for that. So going now, and doing it on my own is definitely exciting some days and not other days. Yeah.
What's the biggest case? Obviously names and can be changed to protect the innocent, but what's something that your pinnacle case that you were able to find that missing piece of information and it was like
a favorite?
Yeah, like that testimonial thing that you like, this is what I want on, and on my plaque under my door. Because I mean, there's got to be some of those that just either affirm that you made the right decision on going out your own, or something that you cracked the case for a large firm that you say, hey, I found that information we guys have been looking for. Do you have those aha moments? There's so many of them you can't pick one.
There are pieces of every case that you are either really disappointed in, not necessarily because we made any mistakes, but just because you could do the best job, you could be 100% right, but that doesn't mean that you're going to get to trial and put that on. It may settle in mediation, and a lot of times what happens is your side may be the right one, maybe the honest one, maybe, whatever, the one that was wronged, but in mediation, you're dealing with emotion. And you have people's feelings at stake. And if they feel pressure, they feel stress and anxiety from the other party, they sometimes make a decision where, you're sitting there going, no, don't do it. And their attorney, no, don't do it. But, at the end of the day, you have to support what they decide to do. So there are cases that I can think right off the top of my head, I wish that would have gone differently. I wish they would have just held on, 2 or 3 more days, because you're looking at it from a less emotional standpoint. Right. You're on the outside, 50-foot view looking in, and you don't see why they should make the decision they did, lose on the value that they lost on, whatever. But there have been some where, it's just really nice to work with the people. I've worked with some basketball players, parents of singers and things like that, where they're a very different person than you would expect them to be. And it's been actually a very pleasant experience working with all those kind of high profile people that I've worked with. And then there's the average Joes like us that you work with, and you're just like, that is a really cool person. And you just walk away thinking, I am glad I worked with that person.
So it sounds like you have a personal connection. Are you hired mostly by the individual, the end user for your research, or attorneys? Is that who usually hires you?
Typically the client themselves or the business that they work for will hire me.
Okay.
And they come referred by the attorney most of the time. Because again, like you said, what do I do? Send out magnets to everybody so they can hang on their fridge and, ever need a divorce, call me. That doesn't work. So the attorneys are really the ones that we build the relationships with, so that when they have a client that comes in that needs the expert testimony work or an appraisal for estate purposes or a fraud examination, if there's some sort of theft, then that's who they would call.
That's cool. Well, we're getting close to our time for this segment. Is there anything else you would like to elaborate on about your business that you want people to know about what you do and who you are?
The easiest way to think of it is just that it's questions of value. You know, that's when you would want to ask your attorney, I need a business appraisal? Are you trying to sell, merge, acquire? Are you going through a divorce? Do you want to gift, transfer, retire, anything like that? That's really when you'd want to ask and talk to an expert.
Well, thank you so much for all of the information and for being here. If anyone wants more information, your website is VALFFLLC.com.
Yes, I went through the alphabet when I was making that website, and I wanted to pick the letters that were most difficult to discern over the phone, and that's what I did.
Well,
yeah.
I think that was successful.
I feel like it was.
Well, thank you so much, and we will be right back.
Hey, this is Wayne Green, your host for Radio Wayne, Spoke and More. Each Saturday from 5 to 7 p.m., I'll be playing folk, singer-songwriter, Americana, blues, bluegrass, classic country, Cajun Zydeco, Celtic swing, and whatever else seems to fit. Once again, that's Radio Wayne, Spoke and More, every Saturday from 5 to 7 p.m. on Lone Star Community Radio.
Welcome back to Chamber Chat. I am your host, Shauna Harris, with the Conroe Lake Conroe Chamber of Commerce, here with the president of the chamber, Scott Harper, and we are interviewing our guest, Bill Torgan, with Conroe Life Changes. Thanks for being here, Bill, and if you don't mind, maybe telling us a little bit more about yourself and how you got started with Conroe Life Changes and what your background is.
Thank you for having me. I got started, I was interested in hypnosis to begin with, probably back in the late 70s. I was a lieutenant in the police department up north, and we sent a detective to learn forensic hypnosis to help witnesses with their memory and things like that. So that first got my interest. Then after I retired, I wanted to, I needed to work, and I decided to get trained in hypnosis and open practice.
I don't think I've ever heard the term forensic hypnosis.
Well, forensic hypnosis is designed to, you have to have special training in it, and the reason for that is because if you're helping someone with memory, it's very easy to instill or install a false memory. Mm-hmm. It's the same technique you use with an investigator as asking questions and says, was it a tall person? You know, you're automatically giving them the suggestion that the person was tall, and so they'll say yes, even if that wasn't the case. Mm-hmm. So you're trying to elicit information from them forensically. You really want the information to come from them and not to come from you subconsciously.
Yeah.
Well, when you, obviously, thanks for your service as an Air Force and Army veteran. What are, was there anything that during that time that steered you to maybe look into having your own practice and helping other people? And then maybe the hypnosis, you talked about that through when you were a police officer, but there's anything during that time that you said, I'm going to do something to help others, or did this come after later?
No, I've always enjoyed helping others. I've been involved with the community for a long time. In fact, for several years, I've been involved with the theater, local theater. I've acted and directed in plays here at the Conroe, at the Crichton Theater, and also at the Owen Theater. Okay. And I've always enjoyed helping people. That's one of the reasons why I was a police officer. I really thoroughly enjoy when I have a client who's having difficulty it's almost like an aha moment when that session is over, and it's like the smile on their face. It's like, wow, they can't believe how much better they feel. So it's amazing. A lot of people think that hypnosis is all they know about is what they see in the paper, or they see on a stage show or a movie or a television show. And they'll see someone up on stage clucking like a chicken or barking like a dog. But hypnosis is really more, it's like a guided meditation. But it's very powerful because it's the people who do the best in it are the people that can relax into the process and use their imagination. It's all about the client. All hypnosis is self-hypnosis. I am just a guide.
What kind of training goes into that? When you said you had to go do training, what kind of training is that? And you talk about having a holistic approach. How does that work going through that certification process?
Well, the certification process for me was I started taking my training through a college in California. Most of it was online, but the hands-on parts of it I couldn't really do because I had a cat that was ill at the time, and I couldn't leave it. And so the school really wasn't going to really work with me on that, and so I transferred schools, and I found one in Houston, which was the Path Foundation. And that was about a year-long course, but they gave me a lot of credit for what I had already done. So I went through the Path Foundation, and then I got certified with them and with the National Guild of Hypnotists, which is located actually in Massachusetts. And I opened my practice in August of 2015 here in Conroe. I've been in the same office since then. And it's been a while just building a reputation. And I enjoy a 5-star rating and reviews. All my reviews are good. And so I've been growing.
Right. And you talk about the different things, the different areas that you kind of focus on: the quit smoking, losing weight, overcoming fear, change behavior, breaking some other habits. What are some of the things that you're seeing? Is there any new trends post-COVID that have spiked versus what you might have seen prior to 2020?
Well, I see a little bit more anxiety, a little more depression. People are, they were tired of being cooped up, and then now that they're a bit freer, they don't have the money that they had, and so there's some anxiety there. But I've seen people for things like improving their golf game.
Hey, Dick, did you hear that? He just started shot of 109 after not playing golf for 15 years. Just, dusted off the clubs and went out and see, there's hope, buddy.
Well, the thing about golf is it's a mental game. If you have a bad shot, that bad shot will have a tendency to follow you around the rest of the game. Or you'll overcorrect, or there's just so many other things that happen. Most athletics are about focusing. One of the warmest things that happened to me was I saw a young man who his parents brought him in. He was having a lot of difficulty in school. And so I hadn't seen him in a long time. And all of a sudden, I went into a location where he was working. And he comes up to me, gives me a big old hug, and he says, "Boy, you don't know what you did for me." Yeah, he was in a pretty dark place, so that was a warning.
Yeah, and too, when you talk about depression things, I mean, one of the things that people don't talk about enough, and it continues to be on the rise, is mental illness. And so that's something that if you're able to have a positive impact on that, that's huge.
Especially in the teen years. A lot of parents don't realize the pressure that the teens are under, and they're under a lot of pressure, and there's a lot of actions that they take. They just don't even realize the ramifications. Long-time solutions for short-term problems is not the answer.
Right. Absolutely. Well, what are you went through some rebranding, renaming of your business?
I did.
Okay, talk us through that, because I think sometimes, our audience in the small business world, they there might be contemplating that as well. So
Yeah.
kind of walk us through that and why you made that change.
My company's name actually is Conroe Hypnosis Group, LLC. And I had a DBA of Conroe Hypnosis, which made sense to me. And I was in a networking group, BNI networking group. And in the chapter was a Dr. Hewlett, you know him, right?
Kayla Hewlett, yeah.
Kayla Hewlett. And wonderful guy. And he said, you know what? He says, certain, and of course I was just starting out, he says, you know, certain areas have a wrong connotation, like chiropractic and hypnosis, because when you see the term hypnosis, you think nothing but you know, stage shows. And I said, I want people to find me not because they're looking for hypnosis, but they're looking for a solution to a problem. Mm-hmm. And so he actually is the one that told me I should think about changing the name. And so I changed it to Conroe Life Changes. And I changed my tagline from helping everyday people with everyday problems to hypnosis for success. And that's been what it's been since 2016.
Okay.
So you said you started your business in 2015, so that was a fairly quick change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had just started. But, you know, just changing the name, just a DBA, mm-hmm. It is a pain. So I'm not going to change it again.
That's good. Does insurance and those type of options, do they cover hypnosis? I know there's certain elements out there of self-help that they do and some they don't.
Well, on a personal side, I have business insurance, and I have that through a company that's associated with the National Guild. Okay, mm-hmm. But when people come in for hypnosis, most insurance carriers will not cover hypnosis services. Mm-hmm. And so most people are saying, well, you know, now it's going to be out of pocket. Now, I will take HSA, which is health savings accounts. They process the same as a credit card, and I take all major credit cards. Mm-hmm. My first session is a long session. It's normally 90 minutes to 2 hours, and sometimes it'll take 2.5 hours. It really depends. And that first session is $225. And any session after that, even if it's for a different reason, it is $125. It's a shorter session. It's 45 minutes to an hour. Mm-hmm. And so they're reasonable. I'm very competitive in the area. Mm-hmm.
So you were talking about depression, anxiety. Those are very broad things and a number mm-hmm. of reasons for people to feel that way. But something like quitting smoking, that is a very tangible, it's a cigarette.
Right.
So what is the difference between the person who can just say, I'm not smoking anymore, set them down and they're done, versus the person who's been struggling for years to quit and they keep picking it back up and they're beating themselves up over not being able to just like put them down and step away? Where's that? What's happening there, in your opinion?
The thing is, people believe that their cravings are being driven by nicotine because they hear nicotine is an addictive drug. Mm-hmm. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. It's very addictive. But that's not what drives your cravings. Nicotine leaves the body in 72 hours. Most of it is gone in the first 24. You pee it out. What really drives the cravings are emotions. You're bored, gotta have a cigarette. Mm-hmm. You're excited, gotta have a cigarette. Mm-hmm. Whatever your emotion is.
Stressed out,
yeah,
gotta have a cigarette.
Stressed out, you gotta relax, you gotta have a cigarette.
Having a drink, having a cigarette, they kind of go hand in hand, bad habits.
The same thing that drives your cigarette cravings drives a lot of things, which is why hypnosis is such a panacea for so many issues.
Yeah.
Is because the emotions, we're emotional beings, mm-hmm. we're a chemical being. The limbic part of the brain directs the endocrine system. The endocrine system is all the glands in our body. And any time that we have a stimulus to either something that's happening through our senses or a thought, we create a chemical mix that makes us feel a particular way. The limbic part of the brain directs the the glands to produce whatever
Like endorphins or
whatever we need to feel. I mean, if you need strength, what happens? Your adrenals
Cortisol.
over the kidneys produce adrenaline, pump it into your system, and you get super strength right away. You need to calm down afterwards. That same gland produces noradrenaline and calms you down. You need to go to sleep at night. Pineal gland releases melatonin. Most of the drugs that people go to the drugstore and get, over-the-counter drugs, a lot of them are just hormones and peptides that we already have in our bodies. And when you supply that, then the body, if it gets lazy and doesn't want to produce it anymore. So that is a big thing of what hypnosis is all about, and why we call it holistic, is because we're using the body's own natural way of making changes. And what I do with someone who is a smoker is my process is pretty simple. I do an induction, which is nothing but some relaxation techniques. I do a deepening, more relaxation techniques. I give them a kind of a post-hypnotic trigger for stress and anxiety. And then I'll take them in what they call a regression to cause. In the case of a smoker, I'll take them back to the very first time they can remember making that decision to smoke or their first cigarette. And then we release it. And now this is a process. I ask them a ton of questions, all dealing with their emotions, their feelings, all of these type of issues. And I don't need to know what they're thinking. They don't need to be answering the questions I'm asking. They can be answering questions on their own. It doesn't matter. It's a releasing process, and it's very cathartic. When we get down after that, I do some positive reinforcement for their decision to be a non-smoker. And the funny thing is, even people that smoke 2-3 packs a day, at the end of that one 90-minute session, they will normally have no cravings, and most of them don't get them later. They're done.
Wow.
One session. So it's very effective. Now, everybody's different.
Sure.
Some people will still have cravings, and I go over different ways they can deal with cravings. I usually give my clients access to a recording that they can use to help them meditate and help them, if that's the case. But if they need to come back for follow-up, they can come back in for follow-up, and I've seen some clients for that as well.
So another big one with smoking is weight loss, and you're going to be hosting an event at our chamber. You want to kind of elaborate on that and why you think that's important as well?
I think it's important. July 5th, that's a Tuesday, the day right after Independence Day. I'm going to have it right here at the Chamber of Commerce in the boardroom, and it's going to be at 12:30. And it's going to be a seminar for sugar cravings and food cravings. Now, I was using there was a woman by the name of Victoria Gallagher that has a hypnosis practice, and she's written a book, and she did weight loss. And the weight loss protocol, one of the hardest things to do for hypnosis is weight loss. And the reason is you can't stop somebody from eating, right? Not healthy to do that. So it's a modification. So it's not a one-session protocol normally. Her protocol was 12 weeks. And I did that, and it was okay, but I didn't like it as well for several reasons. And one of them is it's expensive. And it was like, 12 weeks, that's 3 months of coming to sessions. Well, it's not about me collecting payments every week, for 12 weeks. It's more about the success of my clients. And all of the sessions seem to revolve around three things. One of them was cravings for sugar and food, and another one was behaviors, habits, and preferences, and another one was metabolism. Those are the three things that hypnosis revolved around, all of these different sessions. And so I designed basically 3 sessions that were individual for those. So each one is its own purpose, its own end. It's not like it depends on the others. And each one is designed to be able to be done in an individual basis with an individual client on a one-on-one or as a group session. And so I'm going to be launching this July 5th, And the session's designed, my first session's designed to be between 6 and 20 people. And the first, I'm charging $75 for it, but the first 6 people to sign up for it will enjoy a $25 discount. Nice. And I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be information with regard to different diets that are on the market today, pros and cons. It's also going to be information about hypnosis, how it works, and that type of thing. And we'll do a group hypnosis session for sugar cravings and food cravings.
Well, that will be really interesting. We are getting to the end of our chat, and I just wanted to give people more information. Your website is conroelifechanges.com, and they can find information about your sessions there. And then if listeners want to go to the Chamber Community Event Calendar, that event is on July 5th, and there's registration links there.
Yes,
and
it's also posted on Facebook. And
you can find
on my
social
website
media.
is also a link that they can actually book an appointment straight from the website.
Okay.
They can either call me and I can book it for them, or they can actually go on the website and book it for themselves and see what my availability is.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for being here. It was
I have
very
sessions on
informative.
Saturdays also.
Oh, that's helpful. Definitely.
Yeah.
It seems like there's a lot more to this than I realized. But for more information, you can go to conroelifechanges.com, and we hope everybody signs up to be at the July 5th event. So thanks so much, and we'll be right back.
Thank you.
Hey, tune in to the Bridge Podcast TX Tuesdays at 11 a.m., where we are connecting commerce with community, interviewing business owners and leaders in the community, allowing the audience to peek behind the curtain of what inspires, motivates, drives these individuals to have meaningful, positive impact in this community. For more information about the show, log into irlonestar.com/TBPTX.
Okay, welcome back to Chamber Chat. I am Shauna Harris with the Conroe Lake Conroe Chamber of Commerce. I'm here with Scott Harper, the president of the Chamber, and we are going to hear from Rebecca Kolb and Kelly Hall about the upcoming Conroe Stars and Stripes celebration. So if you wouldn't mind maybe introducing yourself a little further and what you do, and then we can talk about the fun event.
Alrighty, I'll go first. I'm Rebecca, and I work for Visit Conroe. I am the tourism coordinator for Visit Conroe, and I'm sure a bunch of your members probably remember that we used to be over in the Chamber building. Sadly, we had to move, but we're over here at City Hall right now, working here on the 5th floor, and we are about to start doing some construction on the 1st floor for a new visitor center, so we're excited.
Nice.
I'm Kelly Hall, and I work for the Parks and Rec Department, and I'm the program coordinator, and I mainly work with special events.
Okay.
So special event is what we have. So I don't know if Conroe has actually done fireworks for a while, and it's been a while. And one of the things the fireworks I have a little bit of history with is that way back in the day, the Conroe Chamber used to do fireworks, and then it went away. And then when I came on board, it was right after the drought, when the lake was about 6 feet down, and the boats couldn't get out on the lake, and people were mowing the lake because grass was growing. And so one of the things as we were talking about as the Chamber, a lot of the businesses struggled around the lake, the restaurants. I mean, when you go to eat and you sit out on the deck for a reason, not to go look at dirt. And so a lot of their traffic patterns had changed, the boat rental places had changed, and they just weren't getting any business. So one of the things we talked about as our board is like, hey, let's bring back the fireworks. Let's put them back down on the south end of the lake. Walden and Bentwater always do amazing shows, but if you're not in a strategic place, you don't see them. So we did ours in conjunction, and we had vantage point of all 3 fireworks shows. But we went back, we brought them back in the restaurants. said it was their busiest night of the year and continued to do so. And so we did that, transition within the chamber, transition with some of the firework providers a windy event caused a fire on the dam, which was pretty cool, I hear. But so there was a void. They got rid of it, and so last year I get a text at 10:30 from Paul Vergadamo. It was like, "We need to do the fireworks again since you're back at the chamber." And I'm like, I really like my 4th to be off. But here we are, getting ready to talk about our inaugural Conroe Stars and Stripes celebration. So I know it's kind of a joint effort with the city in the chamber, and we've got some sponsors that are coming on. But from the city's perspective, why don't you guys talk about what we're planning on your end from the day leading up to the fireworks? Because there's a lot of cool events going on. I know last year we had the symphony do their concert with patriotic music, which was amazing. I'm not a big symphony guy, but I really enjoyed listening to that. You can't help from being patriotic and enjoy that kind of stuff. So, tell us about, from the city side, what you guys are planning, what you're hearing, and what kind of excitement that you guys think that's brewing out there for this kind of event.
Yeah. Well, I do agree with you, Scott, that having the 4th of July is off is nice, but the thing I love about the city and the chamber's relationship is that we're here for the community, we're here for the residents and the business owners here in downtown especially. So we're excited to have this inaugural event here in downtown Conroe. Do you want to talk about the children's event?
So the event's going to be at Heritage Place Park, which is directly across from the chamber. So we'll start the day around 4 o'clock with balloon artists and face painting, and we'll have some characters. We'll have Captain America and Wonder Woman and Uncle Sam, so the kids can, get in the spirit of the event. And we'll have a market for the families to shop. We'll have food trucks, some inflatables, so things to keep the kids a little bit busy and start the day and get out there as a family and hang out and spend some time. And then around 7, we're gonna move into
So we'll have the performers around 7 o'clock that evening. It's going to start with the Woodland Show Chorus, and they're going to put on a really cool show. We've kind of heard about little snippets of it. And then that's going to be followed by the Choral Society and the Symphony. They will be performing together. And then the final will be the Conroe Symphony Orchestra. They'll be performing their patriotic concert in the park.
That'll be cool. And then it's going to, then we'll put the icing on top of a great day, depending on the lighting. But, we're expecting the fireworks to start around 9:30. We're very blessed to have Wood Forest National Bank be our title sponsor. We also have the Friends of Conroe, Consolidated Communications, Primrose School of Conroe, and Crown Cork and Seal are right now our sponsors, and we are inviting the community, if anybody would like to help us do that and sponsor this show. You literally get to see your money go up in smoke. It's one of the best marketing ploys you could ever have. In a fun way. But, a great day for the families, and I think that's one of the things, too. I was joking about, having my day off, but being able to come in and having something for the whole family to enjoy, and then ending it with a great fireworks show. We appreciate the conjunction with the city, making all the parts move. If people are interested and they do donate toward the fireworks, there is a VIP viewing party, and that will be held on what I'm calling the Wood Forest Terrace, which is the top of their parking lot of their new building, and that'll be one of the best vantage points for everyone to see. But I think strategically, the fireworks will be shot off from a secure location, but be visible from both sides of 45, and so people could park in the Target parking lot, Home Depot parking lot, and have a great viewing point if they need to watch it from over there. So a lot of great things, and we're hoping this will just continue to be an annual event. And I think as a committee, which all of us serve on, is that we're really focused on trying to stay off of the 4th of July and do it the Saturday prior to 4th of July. So we have a couple years before the 4th falls on a Saturday to figure out what we're actually going to do. But I think it's going to be a great event for the community. I think also to our downtown vendors to be able to offer some things on the weekend that they might not necessarily be open for. So anything else we need to discuss?
What are we missing?
Wear sunscreen, wear a hat. Drink lots of water.
Bring water.
Yeah.
There will be an ambulance on site, but
Yes.
please, everyone, bring water. Be hydrated.
And this is a free event for the community.
Yes.
So unless you want to sponsor and then watch your money go up in flames.
That's right.
And if you want to
Yes.
buy something from the food trucks.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Just free to attend.
So
But
always bring
definitely
money, but the fun's
patronize
free.
the food trucks and all of those things and
Yeah.
Yes, food trucks and drinks will be available
for purchase.
at the park.
Yeah. Cross our fingers for excellent chamber weather.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
And if you cursed us, we'll blame it on you.
No, the chamber always brings amazing weather.
We do. We do.
Well, again, this event's going to be Saturday, July 2nd. And so the kids' activities starting around 4 o'clock and everything being held at Heritage Park, followed by performances by some local, the symphony, and what was the choral?
It's the Woodland Show Chorus and the Montgomery County Choral Society.
And that's going to be awesome because just the symphony did it by themselves, and that was amazing.
Yes.
So to add the
Yeah.
add the choral side to it as well, and then with weather and visibility and darkness, fireworks will start about at 9:20. So it's going to be a great evening, and we hope everyone can come out and join us. We appreciate our presenting sponsor, Woodforest National Bank, for helping us support this endeavor, and they do so much for the community as well. So with that, that's all we need to talk about. Thanks, Shauna.
Well, thank you, Kelly and Rebecca, for being here to share it with us. And if anyone needs additional information, this event is on the chamber calendar. You can just navigate to chamber calendar, go under events on July 2nd, and everything is there for more information. But we appreciate you sharing it, and we will be right back. Thank you to everyone that tuned in. We know your time is valuable, and we appreciate you spending it with us. Chamber Chat is open to all members, and we invite you to be a guest on an upcoming show to share your business news, events, and expertise with our community. Visit us at conroe.org for more information, and we will be back next month with a fresh show.